Happy full moon to everybody. Full moon in Aquarius. I just thought I would pop on really quick and talk about some of the full moon activities that I'm up to. First off is charging this jar. The second one is doing the finishing touches on these protection bracelets. So they're being charged the same way they did before. And then I needed more Crown of Success oil, so I am charging this Crown of Success oil with a candle. So not much else is going on. A little update on Saint Martha. She's coming right along. Still working everything. I haven't done the spells here for today yet. I just lit her candle and put out her offerings and things like that. So that's an update on that. Hers will be finished shortly, but that's not really a full moon thing. That's just an update on it. And yeah, these are the 3 areas on the altar that we're working today for the full moon. My protection jar, I do every full moon. We do offer these as well because I can activate them and send them out to you. And they work really well because obviously you can recharge them all the time, even when you feel that you need extra protection, something's going on, things like that, or on a regular basis like the full moon, like I do with these ones. But anyways, it's kind of a low-key full moon this time. I don't have a whole lot of activity going, just kind of regular updates, or I mean not updates, but regular spell work that I already had going on. And yeah, kind of a mellow one. Let's talk a little bit about reading candles during spell work. So these candles were all lit basically around the same time. This one was lit first, this one on the jar, and then this one was lit, and then the charging the Crown of Success oil. But this is a protection jar, okay? And you can see that this candle has burned significantly faster than this candle. They're the same candle, right? There wasn't a huge span of time between them, anything. Even while I've been standing here, this candle has burned significantly fast. As I'm standing straight like this in front of the candle, this, from where the candle is forward towards me, is the physical, okay? From where the candle is behind the candle is spiritual. So you can see that all the wax buildup is building up behind the candle. So it's a spiritual. This one's burning in spiritual, right? From this part of the candle this way is future, and this part of the candle behind it is past, right? So you have, how I would read this wax is spiritual present, because right along the axis is kind of present, right? Spiritual present, flowing into the future, right? So what is this jar for? This is a protection jar. And we're charging this jar. Now, the last time I charged this jar, it didn't have this big of a reaction to anything, okay? So obviously this jar needed charged, something's going on, whatever the case is. And it's combating it. You're seeing it happen, flowing to the spiritual and into the future. So it's doing its job. And that's how you read a candle and the wax flow of the candle. Sometimes that, what you see at the back as it's forming the wax, sometimes you can get impressions to sort of read the way that the wax is forming, right? Sometimes you can get impressions about what it is exactly that the candle is combating against or whatever, right? Sometimes, just depends, because sometimes you're doing a spell work against something specific and it'll show up in the candle wax or in the way that the wax is flowing. Not always, so it's not always something you have to read, and usually it's pretty freaking obvious when the candle wax is forming into something. So I just thought, since this candle is doing an excellent job of showing us how to read the wax flow, that I would show it. So you can see this candle, right? Even in the time that I've had the camera going, this is how fast it has gone down. This is the other candle that I just showed you. They're in the same area, same environment, same airflow, whatever. This is the difference in spell candles. And again, then you have this one. This one is just charging. This is also just charging this jar, but this jar is an active spell. This is just oil I'm working on. I'm just charging this oil because I just made it, right? So, and this candle is also just charging these bracelets that have been actively doing this spell work. But this jar itself is an active spell, and you're seeing in real time how much this spell needed to be charged and activated. Something's going on, whatever the case is. My spirits always have my back and they're always ready to roll with it. But that's why I love these spell jars like this, because you can activate them and charge them again on a regular basis, and they continue to be badass workings. And you can get these jars that I do, these jars in love work, in money work, protection, you know, your basic stuff that you would have charging. That wax will peel off of my little placemat there, so it's not a big deal. But I just thought I would show you, because even in the time that I've been doing this video, you've seen how quickly that candle has burned down. It's just showing you and indicating to you that the jar needed to be charged, that the spell is actively working against something, and good fucking luck whoever it's working against or whatever it's working against. Good fucking luck, because that spell itself is fucking badass when it comes to this. So, anyways, this one again. The difference. That's how you read a spell candle as you're actively working a spell and what happens. The spell candle will always tell you exactly what is going on in the spell. Always. When I do client stuff, I know things that are going on in their life before they're telling me what's going on in their life because of the way that the candle burns. So it's very precise and very interesting when you know how to read it. Okay, how to read your candles, part 2, I suppose. This one will be about pillar candles in the glass jars. Now this one was set up for St. Martha, and this is a petition candle that was lit on her feast day, January 29th. It's not exactly the same thing as a working spell candle, but I don't have another working spell candle that I want to show on video right now, and I think it'll work for the purposes of demonstration of what's going on with spell work in glass candles like this, because it's pretty often. So this candle, as you can see, is almost burned all the way down. It's about here on the candle. It's almost burned all the way down. But I will say this about reading your spell candles when they are glass pillar candles like this. I don't read them until they're completely burned out, really, unless something in particular happens that is out of the ordinary. Okay, and the reason why is, if you see back here in the back side of the candle, there's like buildup of wax. It's not really high and it's not that big, but when it started building, it was. So you would do these candles, basically in the same way if you were going to. From the middle back of the candle is spiritual. From the middle forward is physical. From the center point axis this way is future. From the center point axis this way is past, okay? But it's about the buildup of the wax on the candle. But as you burn these candles, you'll often find that wax builds up in certain areas, right? So like wax buildup around the back could indicate a spiritual blockage, right? Because it's in the spiritual area. Spiritual blockage, either from the past or into the future, something like that, that the candle itself is working through. But it's not an indication that you need to do anything about it. So it's more about keeping an eye on what in particular the spirits that you've called for whatever working you're doing are doing through the candle, right? So you just maybe take note of it. You might look at it and see, but you don't mess with it in any way. So as this candle has burned, the bigger wax buildup when it first started has really gone down quite a bit. And by the time this candle burns out, it will most likely be completely gone. Pillar candles are a little bit trickier because they're longer term candles and things like that. You would read the glass after the candle has gone out. And I don't have one that's empty right now to show you, but it's basically like, so if there was a big buildup of wax along, let's say, the backside of this candle when it went out, that remained there, the candle went out and there was a block remaining there, I would either burn another candle to continue that going, even if it was just a little chime candle, right? Or a tea light candle or something like that. I would burn that to make sure that it all goes away. Or you can burn an entire another candle if you feel like that's necessary. And sometimes if there's a lot of residual, like if the entire glass candle case is covered with black, sometimes that's a good sign. If you're removing negative energy, you want to see that there's a lot of black buildup on the candle. But if you're not, if it's a money working or something like that, and you get a lot of black soot and residue on the case, on the glass part of the candle, then you're going to want to repeat the working until the candle burns clear. So, spell work can be intensive sometimes. If there's a block that something is moving through, it needs to be continued until it's removed. So you could always burn an entire another candle. It would depend on how big that block was. If the entire thing burned down and that whole side of this candle was covered in wax and it burned all the way down that way and never burned that buildup, then I would burn an entire another candle. So it's hard for me to tell you guys what to do across the board when it comes to reading candles, like what to do next and stuff, because it's very specific to the spell. But these are just general guidelines. The other thing that I saw commented on the other video, the part 1 video of this, is that questions about what if there's no activity, say in the chime candle, or like say one of these burns completely clear and nothing interesting has happened with the wax or the flame or any of that kind of stuff. What does that mean? And in spell work, it's basically like this: no news is good news. Okay. And also, there really isn't a good or bad sign when it comes to working your candle. Just indicators of what is going on with the spell while you're working it, and whether or not you need to continue the spell, right, afterwards, if there's more work that might need to be done or something like that. But not really saying anything bad necessarily. So even if you have what seems to be negative, like black buildup on the glass, or a lot of broken lines down the glass, not the glass itself, but like wax broken lines down the glass, things like that, it's not an indicator that the spell itself didn't work. It might be an indicator that the spell was a larger spell and needed to be continued. Like this candle wasn't enough to get rid of, let's say, all that negative buildup, right? Negative energy buildup, or the wax, right? Negative energy buildup on the wax, as far as that would indicate a block, right? Spiritual block or physical block in the future, or block in the past, kind of is how you would read that. But it's not really, they are not really telling you that something bad happened or that something good happened, like an omen. It's not really like that. It's more just telling you what is occurring during the spell work. And again, if there's nothing exciting that occurs, right? And like nothing outrageous, everything went fine. There was no wax flow, there is no buildup, there's nothing. Good news, or no news is good news. So that's how I would read that when it comes to candle work. So these are a little bit tricky to do. I'm trying to be as general as possible, but know that like spell candles do weird things, right? Like they will show energy moving in weird ways, and they're very specific to each spell that you're doing and what the purpose of the spell is and all of that stuff. So these are just some general guidelines, and not everybody might read their candles the same way I do. I'm just sharing with you what has worked for me. Hi, so I had somebody ask me this question here about how to charge jewelry in response to one of my previous videos. So I thought I would jump on and make a video because it's easier than typing it all out. So I'm wearing mine now because this one's all done. First of all, I charged these for protection. I charged them under the last new moon that we had and then this full moon, and they sat on my altar here the whole time. So the first thing that I do is cleanse them. I do that with Florida water. You could also use moon water to cleanse all items. You cleanse your candle and the plate that it's on, stuff like that. Cleanse them with, you just put this water on them, you know. And I say I cleanse and clear this item. So these would be bracelets or the candle, whatever. I say in the name of Hecate. Other people say in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Even folk witches and stuff like that will use that. Whatever deity you work with, whatever spirit you work with. If you don't want to do that at all, you can just say, I cleanse and clear this item from any negative energy, negative uses, previous uses, like other people handling it, anything like that. So that's the first thing that I do. That's step one, is to cleanse and clear it. And then I take this rue water, which this is just rue, the herb, which my little bag of herb has disappeared. I don't know where it went to. And it is steeped like tea, right? So I just boil water, put it in the, put the herbs in the water, let it sit like tea till it cools down. And then there's some alcohol in this. It's mostly water and then a little bit of alcohol to preserve it. That's how you make a water like that. That's rue water. And so I'll use this instead of oil. On jewelry specifically, like you're asking, oil gets sticky on these beads. So I use the water to anoint it with instead. So I'll hold it in my hand, pour that water on it, the same process I do with cleansing it. But I say to empower and protect these bracelets. These would also be for clients because these are now available. But for myself, you know, to call my guides, guardians, ancestors, and angels, and the spirit of rue itself. That's a big deal for that rue, the spirit of the herbs that you're working with. So rue itself. And then this is a mixture of rue, agrimony, hyssop, and I can't remember what else I have in this. It might just be those three. But any protection herbs that you have will work to put on here. And I just laid it down. It's all messy now because it's all used. But I laid it down here and then made a center point for the candle to charge them on top of. And I activated those two to activate the spirit of agrimony, activate the spirit of rue, activate the spirit of whatever herb it is that you're using for protection for whoever wears these bracelets, or for myself, right? By the power of the guides, guardians, ancestors, and angels, by the power of the spirits of these herbs. And then these bracelets themselves are onyx, hematite, and tiger's eye. And then you have the evil eye bead there too. To protect against all attacks, intended, not intended, physical or spiritual, right? All hexes, jinxes, curses, evil eye, whatever comes naturally. I don't really have a script for that. I just start talking about what I want and telling these bracelets what they're going to protect against, telling the spirits what to empower these bracelets with. And then you do the same thing with the candle. I typically will write what I want this to do, like protection from the bottom up, because I want it to bring and charge protection into here. So I'll carve protection from the bottom up. You can put a protective oil on it, or you can put a general oil on it, like one that's just a regular anointing oil, because this candle's just charging the situation. And that goes in the middle, like I had it with these bracelets around it, sitting on the herbs. And then I used protection incense. Oh, I shouldn't have put those around there yet. Protection incense I used against jealousy, so there's like an evil eye incense. And I used black magic incense that would be like against hexes, jinxes, curses, other things like that. It's really important also, I mean, I did it so that they would be against anything spiritual or physical, to protect, call the spirits to protect against any malicious, even physical attack or accidental, right? Like any physical accidents or anything like that is also charged against. You don't have to use all three of those incense if you don't want to. Protection works just fine, or dragon's blood incense or frankincense. All of it will work fine. Once those incense are going, which you can see the remnants here because I haven't cleaned it up, but once they're going, I hold these bracelets in the smoke. And I say everything that I said when I was anointing it with the rue water again. So I tell it again to protect it against all of these things. I call guides, guardians, ancestors, and angels, the spirits, protect against all of this, you know, in all of my different incenses, because I had the 3 different going. So that's what I did. And I smoke it in the incense. You can do them one at a time or all 3. I wouldn't do more than 3. So I had the 3 bracelets going, and I did all 3 of them at the same time in the smoke. Just let that smoke fill up there and kind of visualize that that smoke is embedding protective qualities into the jewelry. And then I lit it, let it charge on this was the full moon. It doesn't matter which one you start with, whichever one's closest, full moon. Really, you could start it whenever and then leave it on your altar until the full moon, and then leave it continue to go until the new moon, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to make sure that these, because I'm selling these ones, so I wanted to make sure that they were included in both full moon and new moon charging on my altar. And then after this has burned all the way down, I put a stone, and the one that I had here was labradorite, but you can use any protective stone that you want. Even a quartz stone will work, and let it sit on my altar in between the full moon and the new moon. And it was just sitting on my altar and in the same herbs and everything like that. So that's how I charge the bracelets. If it were just one bracelet, I might not use an entire pillar candle. I might just use a tea light. And if it's like a necklace, you might want to wrap it, into a circle around or something like that. You can take this basic setup and just modify it to whatever piece of jewelry it is that you're doing. I'm going to take all these herbs because they've been sitting here charging like that too. I'm going to create an oil out of the herbs that have been sitting here and all the incense that's in there, because it has a lot of work to do with it that way, a lot of energy in there. But that's my basic premise. So it's cleanse it first, anoint it. Sometimes you can do it with an oil or a water if you don't want like a sticky residue. So you have your charging with that, and then smoke incense cleanse, and then set it and light a candle. You don't have to do it through the whole moon cycle and all that stuff if you don't want to. You can do it if you need it last minute. You can do it. A really good one would be on a Tuesday, a Sunday, a Tuesday. Thursday's pretty good for protection too, just depends on what you're after. And if you really want a hard hitting, like getting rid of hexes and stuff like that, Saturday's also a really good one. So that's the response. If there's any more questions, let me know, because I tried to hit everything as quickly as I could. But that's how I charged and empowered these bracelets.